The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Is Brock Boeser only worth, a second-round pick? Is Brock Boeser not Wayne Gretzky or Alexander Ovechkin on the wing? What? Anyways, let's talk about it. And his value on Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
24 hours as of recording until the trade deadline, and still lots to be decided for your Vancouver Canucks. Let's get into it. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks and also a Canucks writer, currently with Daily Hive Vancouver, and as always joined by my co-host Kyle Bowen. Before we get into it, shout out to you and you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. We're nothing without you listening. We're also not here without those sponsors. And today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. You can also bet on whether or not a player will be traded. More on that later in the show. And Kyle, I know you gave your odds on yesterday's show about you think it's more likely than not that Boeser will be traded. I actually think it's more likely than not that the Canucks keep him. I know that's going to be an unpopular opinion. And some of the reports today suggesting that Brock Boeser may in fact not be moved. Now, the report coming from Cam Robinson doesn't necessarily suggest that. It's just saying that the Canucks, according to his sources, are not happy with the returns on Boeser. So what the hell is going on here? Because this should be a seller's market. Let's touch on it before we get into it. Kyle, I missed you last night on the postgame, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Life is life. Life is lifing. And we picked up the 2 points. Now, I did watch two things at once last night. That's why I wasn't on the post-game show, okay? I only part-time watched the Canuck game while I was at a concert at the Biltmore Cabaret. Shout out to us all, a young local legend. There I was, not paying attention to her set, not paying attention to the game, doing both things at once, and I was loving it, though. I was loving it. It doesn't get more Vancouver than that. Must-win games in March, seeing a local legend again doing her thing. All in all, I took those 2 points and I smoked it, okay? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling playoffs, but I'm also feeling still trade Brock Boeser, okay? It is what it is. But am I surprised his value isn't as renowned around the league? No. Okay, look, I like Brock. I like Brock a lot. Everyone talks about how he's just this 30 to 40 goal guy. And I know he's gotten through a couple injuries, but he's only been a 30 to 40 goal guy once. It is what it is. That's just the truth. Numbers don't lie. Check the scoreboard. Okay, you could assume he would have more if he didn't get hurt there, blah, blah. I understand. But that's just the truth. It is what it is. And if Brock's not worth a first and a high-end prospect and the Canucks want that, again, it is what it is. That doesn't mean they got to pause and not take a deal for the sake of not taking a deal. It just, it's either time to adapt or make more phone calls, Trevor.
Yeah, and I'm curious to ask you this, Kyle. I mean, I think most Canucks fans have the mentality that, you got to sell these UFAs. Like, keeping them as their own rental for this year doesn't make a lot of sense. And if you feel differently, hit us up in the comments and let us know. But I think that is the main sentiment from the fan base here in Vancouver. But I'll ask you this, Kyle. If you believe that, like, you got to just trade Brock Boeser no matter what, because, let's say that they keep him past the deadline and he's unsigned and the Canucks, don't make the playoffs or they bow out early, then all of a sudden Brock Boeser, he's got a ton of leverage in contract negotiations. But if they do decide to trade Boeser for whatever they can get, what is the lowest value return that you would be okay with getting in return for Brock Boeser? Like, what if it is just like a second-round pick? Like, is that worth it?
A second-round pick and a prospect? Like, what if it's not? What if it's the exact same deal? The Canucks, I know times have changed, and now we got the tariffs, okay? But here's the thing. What if it's the exact same deal that Benning gave LA for Tyler Toffoli? Dude, it is what it is. It is what it is. And last time I did the math, yeah, Brock Boeser's a super smart player, and he showed that his whole career. But I've watched a lot of Canucks hockey, man. I feel as if last year was his only year. That not only did he score, 30 to 40 goals or whatever, this guy was a two-way force, a two-way savant. Like, he did that last year. Now, again, his floor allows him to, not to be detrimental on the other side of the rink. But yes, last year we saw a way better Brock Boeser. That's the truth. A more engaged Brock Boeser. And the whole thing about him being like the perfect team guy and whatnot, and it's the truth. It's the truth. He's a nice guy. He's a good guy to have in the room. But is he the most ultimate leader that you must have during a playoff run, or to blow the bank for? I don't know. Like Uncle Ricky said, right? This year, Brock Boeser, the glue guy who ran out of glue. So I understand why it's not like the sexiest thing to go after Brock Boeser. You look at the fact that he has like 4 goals in his last like 56 games too. Like that's a problem as well. Well, it's 20 something games, but still it feels like that. And B, Trevor, let's be honest. Teams, I feel as if they're spending all their minutes on their cell phone plans calling Carolina.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's a huge part of the reporting right now from Cam Robinson is I think a lot of teams, when you look at contenders, I mean, the possibility of adding Mikko Rantanen for $2.5 million if Carolina were to retain, every contender wants to be in on that, right? So like you're keeping your packages, you're tucking in those packages, and you're getting ready to make that deal. And you know, I personally think it would be asinine for Carolina to deal with Mikko Rantanen. Like you paid a boatload of assets to get him. The East is pretty wide open. Like just go and try to win the Stanley Cup. But if they do trade him, then it obviously every team is waiting for that. Now, here's the thing, Kyle. I know the reports are suggesting that the Canucks don't like the offers from Boeser, and I do think it is really tied to Mikko Rantanen because if all the contenders are getting their best packages ready for Mikko Rantanen, and he either doesn't get traded or goes to another contender, then all of a sudden you have all these other teams desperate to add a winger who have put together these great packages. And Brock Boeser, again, is not Mikko Rantanen. But I do think this is an environment where someone could overpay for Brock Boeser.
Dude, okay, I see this happening too, okay? What's his name? Mark Zuckerberg Taluski? That guy, Carolina, the guy who runs Carolina, okay? Not their owner, but their GM. I feel as if he's so smart, he's an alien. He's a robot, but more so an alien, okay? I feel as if this guy, to again get the most for Rantanen and also not put his team as to a detriment, because no matter what, they're not going to be better. Like there's a good chance that Carolina's not going to be better tomorrow compared to the team they were like 9 weeks ago when they had Nacich on their team. Like that's just the truth, and that team wants to win right now. It is what it is. So if I'm Taluski, you know what I'm doing? I'm not making that trade till 11:59. No, honestly, I'm not making that trade to 11:59, so I don't allow other teams in the East who might have wanted Rantanen, other teams in the West, blah, 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 to make a package up for Brock Boeser. I don't, or just like get desperate. Like I'm literally waiting till the last minute to trade Rantanen and let these teams know that, like, thanks for waiting for 4 hours with that package that, you know, you added on to too when you called me like 20 minutes ago, but we got to say no. And now these teams are scrambling to find a time machine so they can make a trade. There, I just did it, man. Wow. Tomorrow's going to be crazy.
Unbelievable stuff from you, man. But look, I think when it comes to Brock Boeser, we've talked for a while about kind of that first round, that late first round pick and a young-ish roster player or a B-level prospect. Like that is the return for Brock Boeser. And, you know, you look at the Canucks right now, and again, it's been a long time since they've been in a playoff race like this, right? Like, you know, last season they're at the top of the Western Conference. They were buying in January. You knew they were going to be in the playoffs. In past seasons, they were kind of like the Anaheim Ducks. They're like 6, 7, 8, 9 points out. It's crazy to think now this is actually Patrick Allvin's 4th trade deadline. And he was a clear seller in the first 2. He was a clear buyer in the 3rd. And then this one is a bit murkier, right? You know, they should sell. And it's interesting, like when you listen to what's going on in Calgary and in Utah, those teams are more in buyer mode. And they're in the exact same position as the Canucks. I know the Calgary, a bit of a soft buyer. St. Louis was kind of feeling like they were in it until Colton Parayko was announced that he was been injured for possibly the rest of the season. So it's just interesting that the teams in the similar situation to the Canucks are thinking about buying, not selling. But with the Canucks, I think it's pretty damn clear, just the way the season's gone with Pettersson, with Hughes, with Demko, this team, they need to sell their free agents. And I mean, if you sell Boeser, if you sell Suter, if you sell Forbert, you're talking like a first, a prospect, a second, and a fourth. And then you see if you could package those assets and trade them for some maybe shorter term help, then
holy GM over here, man.
And Cal, maybe when we get to the other side here on Locked On Canucks, maybe we'll talk about the potential of the Canucks again trading for someone in the short term. Is there a guy like that out there for the Vancouver Canucks on the other side.
GM,
Look at some of your...
okay, before you continue, sorry, can I just read through these Brock Boeser stats? Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I think Brock Boeser, again, good player, man, solid player, and when everyone talks about him being, his stats looking different if, let's say, he played a full season and whatnot, in various seasons, I get it, I understand it. Okay, look at what he did early on in his career. He had 55 points in 62 games, including 29 goals. The next season, he played 69 games, had 26 goals, had 56 points. Okay, cool. Like, he didn't play a lot of games, but he didn't play the full season, but he was close to a point per game, you could say, right? Quote unquote. The next season only plays 57, right? That's COVID. Had 45 points. Not bad. In fact, those numbers are better than the numbers he has right now. The year after that, in 56 games, not a full season, he has 49 points. Okay, now we're talking about a player who's close to a point per game, but here's the kicker. Maybe he's injury prone, okay? Or maybe those injuries have really affected him, because since then, he has 46 points in 71 games, 55 points in 74 games, right? Last year, great year, 40 goals, 33 assists, great in the playoffs, did his thing. But then you look again at this season, it's not even, you can't even compare these numbers to the numbers he had in his first 4 years of his career. He has 37 points in 54 games. And again, this guy's like 4 goals or however many goals in the last 25 games. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's a reason why maybe the offers aren't what we want the offers to be. It is what it is. Brock Boeser is Brock Boeser.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Kyle. You look right now at the trade that the Seattle Kraken and Tampa Bay Lightning made, and obviously that was a bigger deal. And we touched on it a bit yesterday. Could the Canucks package Suter and Boeser in a similar deal? We talked about Boeser being a better version of Oliver Bjorkstrand, but this season he's not that much better than Oliver Bjorkstrand, right? Like, you are paying to potentially get the guy who at his apex is a 30 plus goal scorer, maybe not 40 goals, but a 30 plus goal scorer. But this season, I mean, Oliver Bjorkstrand 0.64 points per game. Brock Boeser has 0.69 points per game. So pretty similar players there. So maybe there's a chance we're overvaluing Brock Boeser in Vancouver. But Kyle, at the end of the day, like we said, if you are going to overpay this guy in free agency, and we've seen that can be a huge mistake, or you're going to lose him for free, you got to act now. And only the Canucks know that best. So again, if they do trade Brock Boeser and sell some assets at the deadline, is there potential of a trade and flip within the next 24 hours? Let's touch on that and some other news notes regarding your Canucks and around the NHL on the other side here on Locked On Canucks. We'll be back after shouting out our friends over at FanDuel. All right. Shout out to FanDuel. If you're placing bets, this is the place you got to go to place those bets, okay? Because they are America's number one sports book. With FanDuel, you'll place live bets throughout the game. It's so easy to use the app. Even I can use it, okay? And if you miss the opening puck drop, you can come and hop into the second period, the third period, whenever you want, and you can still place those bets or even combine them in the same game parlay. Now, Kyle, I wanted to touch on this. So you can bet on trade deadline betting odds, but who may or may not be traded at the trade deadline. So let's shout out a couple Canucks on this list.
That's crazy.
Carson Soucy. He's plus 210 to be dealt from the Vancouver Canucks, so about a 1 in 3 chance. Brock Boeser is plus 250 to be dealt from the Vancouver Canucks. So if you think Brock Boeser is going to be traded, there's some good value there on FanDuel. And like I said on last night's show, if I'm a betting man, I'm betting that Brock Boeser stays in Vancouver, whether the fans like it or not. Finally, of course, Elias Pettersson ended up on the trade deadline betting odds. I don't see this one happening, but he is plus 900 if you want to bet on Elias Pettersson getting traded out of Vancouver. But whatever you're betting on, whether it's hockey, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whether it's competitive ballet, make sure you place those bets on FanDuel. New customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today.
One love to FanDuel. Okay, we back doing this at the Don't Doze Art Lab and here on Locked On Canucks, and that's giving you that show called Locked On Canucks. My name's Kyle Bowen. That right there is the second best dad in the world, Trevor Beggs. Trevor Beggs, have you ever heard of the artist called Asal? ASAL?
Never, man. Tell me all about it, buddy.
Oh, you could just listen for yourself, man. How
Okay,
about that
sounds
answer,
good.
man? It's trade deadline in a couple days, but at the end of the day, like all I'll say is, bro, watching a concert and watching a Canuck game at the same time on your phone, a little douchey. I'm not gonna lie, but I was living the dream. Like seriously, okay, I was living the dream, and I'm just blessed to be alive today. And I'm blessed to still be in the playoff fight. Like, again, I want to see games in April. I was chilling with the homie Rajan yesterday. We're talking about just watching. I just like watching playoff games with the homies. I don't want to wait another 13 months for that. Yesterday's win brought us closer to that dream. And before we talk about the asset managements and boom, bam, and all this assumption stuff, can we just talk about that game just a bit and talk about Pedersen, but not that Pedersen or that Pedersen? I want to talk about that Pedersen, and that's D-Petey, because, again, I was part-time watching the game yesterday. So that means my eyes are on the concert, my ears are listening to the music, then I'm looking down at my phone here and there, boom bam, right? And by my account, with that being my viewing experience, it seemed as if I've noticed a lot of D-Petey just looking cool and looking good. And I know he played the Ducks, and maybe it's easier competition for him, but that being said, he's a third round pick from last year, and he's playing against an Anaheim Ducks team like that. You know what I'm saying? With that much confidence, that much pizzazz, that athletic too. Like, dude, this guy might be you know what, Trevor? I'm kind of happy that the Canucks are not buyers this season, because there'd be like a 20% chance we trade D-Petey for the next Elias Lindholm or whatever, right? Dude, I'm really, really, really happy that we got to see this version of D-Petey so early on, because I think he's got the sauce, man. I think he's really good.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think Canucks management is coming under heat right now among the fan base. We see it in our comments as well here on Locked On Canucks. One thing Patrick Allvin said after the JT Miller trade is that one thing he did not want to do was trade away the young defenseman. And the first name he mentioned was D-Petey. And you can see why now. So you got to give Patrick Allvin and his staff some credit on both the amateur scouting side and the pro scouting side for knowing that they have something in this player. And again, I've watched him in the AHL, and I thought he was good. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm impressed by the speed, but I didn't think he would adapt to the NHL this quickly. And Kyle, it does make you think as we circle back to the trade deadline here. The guys like Carson Soucy and Forbert, do you really need to keep them on this team when you have Hughes, Pedersen, and D-Petey long term as your guys on the left side? And I'm bringing this up now because one of the reports that just dropped from Jacob Stoller from Sportsnet is that the NHL Jets are one team who has expressed a, quote, serious interest in Canucks defenseman Carson Soucy. And Carson Soucy, obviously from Viking, Alberta, West Coast guy, hasn't necessarily worked out here this season. But I look at guys like Soucy and Forbert, and I know they're kind of, short up your third pairing right now, especially with Hughes out of the lineup. But if these guys are not going to be here long term, it just seems like these are guys that you should be trading here at the deadline.
Well, for me, okay, you know what? I'm not even trying to play devil's advocate. I'm speaking from the heart. And again, part-time viewer yesterday of the game, I didn't even get to see Carson Soucy's goal live, but I did also see Carson Soucy at times still struggle, you know what I'm saying, or still not be 100% defensively. And it's like, oh, that's just frustrating, right? But at the end of the day, I feel like his trade value is not going to change from now until the summer. Like, the Canucks still have this guy under contract, right? Unless they're trying to weaponize that cap space ASAP. I understand like the desire to make a trade like that ASAP, but a part of me also feels like getting Garrick Forbert out the door and moving Soucy into like a number 7 spot and competing for number 6, like maybe that's lights the fire under him. Like, that's a good thing for this team, okay? And if it doesn't work out, it's like you still got the summer to trade him, And here's the thing too, Trevor. Like, dude, I don't give up if the Jets are interested in Carson Soucy. If they're not giving me like a steal of a deal, because I could just trade him to you in August, then I'm not taking that, because boom, bam, next thing you know, you finish 8th. You do everything to finish 8th, and you're playing the Jets in the first round. Like, I'm not trying to help the Jets out, No, straight up.
No, I think you make a good point. If the
That's
Canucks
protecting the bottom line.
If the Canucks do manage to squeak into the playoffs, the Jets are going to be their most likely first round opponent. So, and again, I don't love that matchup for your Vancouver Canucks. Now, Kyle.
Dude, Carson Soucy, like, he's got it in him. I feel like there's a little, like, I don't think it's completely dead. I'm not going to compare him to Elias Pettersson, but it's like he's got similar things going on with him,
Yeah, no, 100%. Kyle, I think this is a tough one, and I've tried to look through the names, and no one's really popping out. But what do you think the odds are that the Canucks, if they do decide to trade Brock Boeser, kind of end up in a three-way trade or end up flipping him before the deadline for someone who can help them win now? Like, do you think that's mainly pipe dream stuff, or do you think that's all a possibility for these Vancouver Canucks?
Honestly, I think like if there's a deal on the table to like, let that task list be a thing, 1, 2, 3, you make 3 trades or whatever, 2 trades in succession because you just got Brock Boeser off your books and got this and that and boom, bam, then you do it. But I don't think like, I just want to preface, like, I don't believe the Canucks only make the Brock Boeser trade because there's something else to be made right after it. I don't think they can lean on that. I also, because like you just got to get assets, bro. It is what it is, and you can't just like go past the trade deadline with that 51% chance that you keep Brock. Because I feel like if you don't trade him, then you got to sign him. You got to sign him. All right, then we're all invested into like signing him and doing that and doing this. But bro, what if he doesn't sign back? Or what if you after another 20 games, like he still only has 4 goals in your last, like the next 20, like you don't even want him. And you lost it. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's not good asset management management for a team that barely is fighting with Calgary this year. And historically speaking, over the last 5 years has not been a playoff team. Like you can't do that. No, you can't. Good teams don't move like that, bro. I'm sorry. They don't. I know I'm just a guy with the microphone, but let's be real. That's not the way you do things here. The Canucks are the Canucks. Okay. They gotta move in a different direction and gain, addition. Let's be real.
Yeah, and I do think it is more pipe dream stuff, to be honest. Now, I think I'll throw this out there, and I don't think it's going to happen, but we've talked about this before, Kyle, and I think one of the only names to me that potentially makes sense if you sell off guys like Boeser, Suter, and you get the assets, and I'm not sure if Seattle will even do this, would be Jared McCann. Like, there's not many tems that are clear sellers, but in terms of the Canucks needs, which is a top 6 center, a guy that's, not too old, although McCann is, it's almost 10 years since he made his debut for the Vancouver Canucks. But McCann just seems to be one of those guys who, if they get like a first plus, that they could flip for a guy like Jared McCann. I don't think that's
I like that. That's the type of player I want, bro. That's the type of move I like. Boom, bam, down the middle too. You hope that can happen. And maybe Seattle's hungry to pick up another first round pick, right? Like then you have like 3 of other teams, and then you add in yours. That's kind of high, and then you're looking around the league, and it's like, yo, you never know. You're like another four first round picks away from trading for Connor McDavid, man. At that point, like knowing that he doesn't have a contract in 14 months, you know what I'm saying? Like Edmonton, here's 6 first round picks.
Yeah,
and freaking Matt Berniers.
The reports for that Seattle set the price really high on Jared McCann, but you look at their future down the middle, and they got Matty Beniers, they got Shane Wright, they got Berkeley Cadden, who's one of the best prospects not in the NHL right now. Like they do got depth at center.
Is that the dude leading the AHL in scoring? Like I saw like a tweet talking about like Seattle. Again, Trevor likes to poo-poo on Seattle more than anyone. Straight up, like calling them the ugliest team in the league, to be real. They've only been around for a couple of years though. All in all though, like I saw a tweet saying like, yo, like look at how Seattle's retooled, they have all these picks and Shane Wright's playing better than ever and he might be the real deal, and you got this guy and that guy and that guy, and one of those guys was a guy who's leading the AHL in scoring. Am I tripping?
Wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know off the top of my head. I do know that Berkeley Cadden is still in the dub. Like he's still a teenager, but he has 101 points in 50 games this year.
Holy shit!
For the Spokane Chiefs, so he's been tearing it up down there. You look at some, from the Athletic this year, their top U23 players, both in the NHL and outside the NHL. And Berkeley Cadden, he's just outside of the top 20, ahead of some other ahead of Bennett Seneke, 3rd round pick, ahead of Seth Jarvis, ahead of Shane Wright, ahead of Quinton Byfield. So Berkeley Cadden is a pretty hyped up prospect. So my point is that Jared McCann, again, you hear Seattle's at a high price, that makes sense. He's one of the best players on that team, but he shouldn't be an untouchable asset for them. And I do think if the Canucks got the right assets for clearing guys like Boeser, Suter, whatever, McCann's one of the only guys to me that really fits the bill in terms of a selling team that has a top 6 center who they could trade, and that can help the Canucks both in the short and medium term.
Well, there you go, man. Like tomorrow, man, really, really fascinating day. And I know we started this episode talking about, Brock Boeser. There's not a lot of the appetite for him isn't, fine dining. You know what I'm saying? It may not even be Cactus Club. Okay, second round pick and the team's fourth best prospect. Boom, bam. I want to give that up for Brock Boeser. We started off the episode with that, and I do want to also make note, and maybe you already said this, but Cam Robinson already at the below that tweet where he reported on what we just talked about. He also said he thinks the Canucks' intentions are to trade him. Right? He feels that way. That's kind of what the Canucks want. So
yeah,
even that's a bit of news. It's not news, but we're headed down that path. Again, a lot of Canucks fans. I see the tweets. I see the love for Brock too online. And you know what? If there's one guy who deserves love, it's that guy. And the fact that this guy also wants to be a Vancouver Canuck too, it's cool. The Canucks, perennial loser teams, and this guy wants to stay here. Okay, thank you very much. But at the end of the day, bro, it is what it is. It is what it is, and I'm gonna listen to Ricky again. I feel like he don't have the Vancouver glue anymore. He's not that guy right now. We don't need Brock Boeser moving forward. This whole he's one of Quinn Hughes' friends and whatnot, bro. I feel like Quinn Hughes only wants to be friends with winners. I'm sorry. You see this guy after the game dabbing up the whole team after that win against the Ducks, and he's in the dressing room, and this guy's in workout gear at 10 o'clock at night. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with an oblique injury and a whatever hand injury. Dude, Quinn Hughes' feelings are not going to get hurt that Brock Boeser's traded. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's get over that, guys.
Yeah, there you go. Kyle Bound, Spin Truth here on Locked On Canucks. Let's take a quick break here, get some comments on the other side, and maybe I'll throw one or two other names where the Canucks could target younger guys ahead of the deadline. You are listening to Locked On Canucks.
Okay, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks, and I can't believe we did this, Trevor. We went almost half an hour talking about all this and all that without mentioning Vincent Desharnais got traded against Pittsburgh to San Jose. San Jose, man, they really into the tank. San Jose literally traded a 5th-round pick to become a worse team. No, that's strategy, bro. A wise man once said, man, you can't do it all, but you got to do something, Trevor.
You got to do something, and it's worth noting that it is a 2028 5th-round pick. I think they just made that up anyways, man.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh Penguins actually deciding that they prefer to have an aging Luke Schenn on their roster ahead of a guy like Vincent Desharnais. And I did see a tweet from a San Jose Sharks. I don't know if he's a fan or a writer, just talking about how, well, imagine taking a shot at Celebrini and Will Smith when you got this guy playing defense for you. And I got some news for you. Vinny Desharnais, fakest tough guy in the league.
Oh, okay, Trevor, man, you bro, you got a family. You saying some things out there. Vincent Desharnais finds out where you live. You better be ready, bro. Fake is tough guy. I've never seen you in a hockey fight before. Jeez Louise, man. Come on, man. I'm thinking about my nieces and nephews there, man. Trevor, man. Let me say those things, not you, okay? You got kids. I don't.
Yeah, I haven't been in a hockey fight since I was 10 years old, man. It's been a while.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a couple bar fights since then. But
you know what? You're allowed to say it. My bad. You're a man. Okay, my bad.
I'm going to mention one other name here just because I do think that this is a team that absolutely needs scoring, and I had them on my list as a target for Brock Boeser, and it's the LA Kings. And, this is not the sexiest name because this guy's battled a ton of injuries, but Alex Turcotte, 24-year-old center, his counting stats don't jump off the page this season, but his play at even strength has been good. He's averaged almost 2 points per 60 at even strength. That's ahead of, I think, maybe everyone on the Vancouver Canucks this season. But I do wonder if Alex Turcotte could be a target for the Vancouver Canucks if Brock Boeser does go to the LA Kings again. Not the sexiest name, but man, oh man, But I do think of a name like that, and I started to think of Jim Benning. Man, I've gone dark here.
Holy, dude.
Locked On Canucks, man, unbelievable.
Trevor, where's you? Trevor, man, where's your mind going to, man? Where's your mind, Trevor, man? See, let's just get to the damn comments, man. Look at this. Look what I did. Okay, I brought it up first with Seattle, and boom, bam. Garrett Miles like, you know what? Let's tank this season. Let's just clear all the books and get ready to offer Connor McDavid $16 million a year. Okay, Trevor Beggs on this very serious episode of Locked On Canucks. Should the Canucks be preparing not to woo Quinn Hughes, but to woo Connor McDavid in 15 months?
I mean, Connor McDavid and Quinn Hughes on the same hockey team. That's a pretty sexy combination right there.
Okay, Because jokes aside, I actually want to NHL this with you more, okay? Like, you don't think I'm onto something when I'm like, yo, Seattle is stockpiling a bunch of first-round picks because, I don't know, they could make a legitimate offer, you know? Like, what would it take to get Connor McDavid out of Edmonton? I know, whatever. Okay, it's trade deadline tomorrow. We'll have a lot of hockey talk tomorrow. Relax, okay? Let's just be stupid right now. Connor McDavid, July 1st, 2025 hits, okay? 12 months from that date, he'll be a free agent. I think he's eligible to sign an extension again, July 1st, 2025, a couple months. But let's say he doesn't want to sign the extension, okay? And Seattle calls and they got, yo, because we traded McCann and maybe they got someone else they're trying to move, they have like 6 first-round picks, right? Then you make a couple up down the road. Now I got 9 first-round picks. Have the 2029 one, 2031. Like, you don't, and then we'll throw Matty Beniers in there or Shane. You don't think you got an offer for Connor McDavid? Like, who's going to beat that? Who has as many first-round picks as Seattle after they trade McCann? Nobody.
Yeah, and I guess the Edmonton Oilers, you know, they're still maybe a playoff team without Connor McDavid in the mix there. But, yeah, it is some fancy world stuff. And I do got to say, like, you pay McDavid $17, $18 million. You get Quinn Hughes. Sue making $13, $14 million. Are you just the next Edmonton Oilers, but maybe you have slightly better goaltending with Kevin Lankinen and maybe Thatcher Demko in the fold there? But yeah, pipe dream stuff, Kyle. I do love. And speaking of pipe dream stuff, let's mention this before we get out of here, okay? All right, we got Uncle Ricky in our group chat talking about how the Vancouver Canucks need to buy, okay, after the win against the Anaheim Ducks last night. And I do think it's from a state of being upset with the organization. But Gigatronic said in the comments, Pittsburgh needs to set 87 and 71 free. And one of the guys that Uncle Ricky wanted the Canucks to acquire is Evgeny Malkin from the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Okay, he's just drunk. He saw the Canucks win yesterday. You know, like he noticed that we're tied for a playoff spot. He's getting a little older in his life. He's probably like, yo, like, I don't want to be this miserable guy that's hoping like the team, you know, is always going to suck. Like, if we're in a playoff spot, we got to be a buyer. That's what I'm raised on, right? Think about it. You and I started watching hockey in 2002, 2003, 2001. Okay, so from that point on, the Canucks were, quote unquote, always a playoff team, always in the mix. Trevor, has there been ever an occasion where you've been tied in a playoff position and you're like, let's be a seller? Like, how stupid have we become? How weak have we become? And Uncle Ricky's like an older man. He knows, like, dude, we're acting soft and he's acting hard. So he's like, yo, let's be a buyer. Let's shock the world and be a buyer tomorrow.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm curious if any other Canucks fans feel that way. Like, do we need to be a buyer? And I feel like most Canucks fans are not feeling that way. Maybe we're all weak. Maybe Uncle Ricky is onto something, man. He's a wise guy. That's why we call him the uncle. But whether the Canucks buy or sell, Kyle, before we get out of here, give me one prediction about what the Canucks are going to do.
Brock Besser's gone. Brock Besser's gone, dude. He played his last game, and he played his last game as a Vancouver Canuck yesterday, man. And some people will cry, but I'm not going to cry because I'm only going to cry when Quinn Hughes cries. That's the type of man I am, okay? Honestly, whatever Quinn Hughes does, I do. Okay? Honestly, if he comes out and says he's disappointed in the team at the end of the year, then I'll be disappointed in the team. But from this point on, if we're tied for a playoff spot, Trevor begs, man. You got to cheer for wins, man. Don't be soft, man. You be a better dad, Trevor. Be a seller win a playoff spot, man. How do you look at yourself in the mirror, man?
You just said the Canucks are going to trade Brock Besser, man.
Trevor, how are you going to... Trevor, I'm all over the place, but I'm positive, okay? Go Canucks, go. We win in the Stanley Cup, okay? There's a difference.
All right, I'll say my one prediction for the deadline is the Canucks make one trade tomorrow, and it does not involve Brock Besser.
Whoa.
All right, that was another episode of Locked On Canucks. We'll be back with you tomorrow after the trade deadline. Before the trade deadline, I'll be back after the trade deadline. So shout out to you for tuning in. If you like what we're doing, go subscribe and like on YouTube on the podcast site. Go follow us. Leave a 5-star review. Elson Guns is dropping the fun fact. We're not in the playoff spot. He's right. We're tied with the Calgary Flames in points and games played, but they have one more regulation win.
But do the Canucks play Calgary this year? Like, is there still one game?
Yeah, March 12th. I believe it's March 12th. So
Elson, listen to me. Look at my eyes. If we play the Calgary Flames still this season, we are in a playoff spot. Trevor, end the show.
All right.
End it.
That was another
end it. Trevor, just don't even say bye to these guys, man. End the show, man. Just end the show, man.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.